What do you love most about getting older?
It's like the confirmation that comes from getting more and more data, which basically says, yeah, the first time you thought that thing, it was actually right, because the second, third, and fourth, and fifth time, it turned out the exact same way. In other words, there have been a few times in my life where I did not feel easy about something. I felt a signal from my body, this is not good. And I didn't trust it early on, but I knew it was there. And then 2 or 3 bad experiences later, I'm able to say, every single time there was a signal from the body informing my mind, this is not good. Now, the reverse has also been true, that there have been a number of instances in which I feel sort of immediate delight, and there's this kind of almost astonishingly simple experience of feeling comfortable with somebody, or at peace with something, or delighted at an experience. And it turns out literally all of those experiences and people turned out to be experiences and people that are still in my life and that I still delight in every day. In other words, what's great about getting older is that you stop questioning the signals that come from the, I think, deeper recesses of your nervous system to say, hey, this is not good, or hey, this is great, more of this. Whereas I think in my teens, my 20s, my 30s, I'm 40, almost 48, I'll be 48 next month. I didn't trust, I didn't listen. I actually put a lot of work into overriding those signals and learning to fight through them, thinking that somehow that was making me tougher, or somehow that was making me smarter, when in fact, in the end, those people that you meet that are, difficult, or, there are other names for it, it's like, like in the end, you're like, yeah, that person's a piece of shit, or this person is amazing and they're really wonderful. And I felt that from go.
So you've learned to trust your gut versus like the influences of other people's opinions.
I've learned to trust my gut versus the forebrain over-analysis, overriding the gut. Other people often in my life have had great optics, right? I've benefited tremendously from an early age of being in a large community of what's been mostly guys, but I have some close female friends and always have as well, who will tell me that that's a bad decision, or this person not so good, or be careful, or they're great, or that's great. So oftentimes my community and the people around me have been more aligned with the correct choice than not.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Yeah. When you were younger, like friends, parents, and so on?
I don't recall ever really listening to my parents that much. I grew up in a, we don't have to go back to my childhood thing, but my sense was that,
Andrew.
Thank you. I learned that recently in a psilocybin journey. My first high dose psilocybin journey, which was,
welcome back,
done with a clinician. Thank you very much. Thank you. I was worried there for a second at one point, am I not coming back? But in any event, I grew up with some wild kids. I would say about a third of my friends from childhood are dead or in jail. About a third have gone on to do tremendously impressive things, start companies, excellent athletes, academics, scientists, and clinicians. And then about a third are living their lives as kind of more typical. I just mean that they are happy family people with jobs that they mainly serve the function to make money. They're not sort of into their career for career's sake. But so some of my friends early on gave me some bad ideas. But most of the time, my bad ideas came from overriding the signals that I knew that my body, and I would say my body and brain, were telling me to obey. And when I say body and brain, is that there's this brain region, the insula, which it does many things, but it represents our sense of internal sensation, interoception. And I was talking to Paul Conti about this, as you know, I respect tremendously. I think he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. I think for different reasons. He and Mark Andreessen are some of the smartest people I've ever met. But Paul's level of insight into the human psyche is absolutely astounding. And he says the opposite of what most people say about the brain, which is most people say, the supercomputer of the brain is the forebrain. It's like a monkey brain with a extra real estate put on there, and the forebrain is what makes us human, and gives us our superpowers. Paul has said, and he's done a whole series on mental health that's coming out from our podcast in September. So this is not an attempt to plug that, but he'll elaborate on what I'm
Paul,
about to say.
wait, you're doing a thing with Paul?
We already did. Yeah. So Paul.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So Paul Conti shot he and I sat down. He did a 4-episode series on mental health. This is not mental illness, mental health, about how to explore one's own subconscious, explore the self, build and cultivate the generative drive. You'll learn more about what that is from him. He's far more eloquent and clear than I am. And he provides essentially a set of steps to explore the self that does not require that you work with a therapist. This is self-exploration that is rooted in psychiatry. It's rooted in neuroscience. And I don't think this information exists anywhere else. I'm not aware that it exists anywhere else. And he essentially distills it all down to one 8.5 by 11 sheet, which we provide for people. And he says there, I don't want to give too much away because I would detract from what he does so beautifully, but if I tried and I wouldn't accomplish it anyway. But he said, and I believe, that the subconscious is the supercomputer of the brain. All the stuff working underneath our conscious awareness that's driving our feelings and what we think are the decisions that we've thought through so carefully. And that only by exploring the subconscious and understanding it a little bit can we actually improve ourselves over time. And I agree. I think that the mistake is to think that thinking can override it all. It's a certain style of introspection and thinking that allows us to read the signals from our body, read the signals from our brain, integrate the knowledge that we're collecting about ourselves, and to use all that in ways that are really adaptive and generative for us.